Hi, and welcome back to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants, the go-to podcast for holistic health seekers looking to harness the power of nature for health and healing. I'm Jen. I'm a passionate health educator, whole food, plant-based culinary coach, and master herbalist. And I'm with Dan, who has returned this week. We're so glad to have him back. He's an exercise specialist and master herbalist who brings his love of movement, herbs, and natural medicine to every conversation. Together, we dive into the world of natural healing, combining traditional wisdom and modern science to help you achieve optimal health. So, today we are talking about a very hot topic. It's been, at least in my feed, for several years now, and I have more and more clients showing up telling me they have issues with their mitochondria. And so, I want us to talk about the mitochondria today. So, Dan and I, we always talk the night before we record. And so, Dan, tell me why you wanted to talk about mitochondria today.
Well, I'm always about maximizing our health as we age. We always talk about it's not only about your lifespan, it's about your health span, which means how long are you going to be healthy enough to live a productive life? You don't want to be 65 and bedridden by some disease. And so, I look at every facet of healthy aging. And mitochondria has been in the news quite a bit lately about aging can impair mitochondrial function. And mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, so it's responsible for energy production, but it's not just about energy production, as we'll learn today. If your mitochondria is not healthy, it can start to be a factor leading to some of our modern day diseases. There's plenty of diseases today, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so true. And when we are, so something we talk about quite often, which is very interesting. So, poop is something we talk about a lot, but stress is another one that we talk about a lot. And so, when we are stressed, that can also affect our mitochondria, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so,
Uh,
getting into different things, we'll talk about different things today that you can do to help your mitochondria as far as foods and herbs and movement, because of course we always have to talk about the food and the herbs. But the good news is when we talk about aging, we're always looking for ways to enhance longevity, and our mitochondria are very adaptable. They respond to different things that we do. So, lifestyle is key here. And so, it's foods, but also making different changes in our body as well. So, let's talk about some of the studies that you found, and what are some key things about the mitochondria? Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit about what mitochondria is, just in case somebody doesn't know what mitochondria is.
well, the most simple way to describe it is they call it the powerhouse of the cell. I think that was biology 101.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
helps, and look, maybe, so it helps the body produce energy within the cell. And it's not just energy for us to go out through our day-to-day chores or whatever your job. It's not just that. It gives the body energy to repair when we're sleeping at night. It helps keep our brain functioning. It keeps our heart pumping.
Mhm.
Basically, without mitochondria, we would die pretty quickly. If you had like a mitochondrial breakdown, which I don't know if that's if it just completely stops working, but they're
Right.
they're linking poor mitochondrial health to dementia, heart disease,
Mm-hmm.
cancer, all these things because it's another thing that causes inflammation. And what we talk
Yes.
about, we always talk about this. All the
Yes.
science is pointing to chronic low-grade inflammation
Mm-hmm.
is the driver of almost all of our modern day diseases. So, and
Right.
I think diabetes is in there too, because that's a big topic. I mean, blood sugar, you're always talking about blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're showing if you have poor blood sugar function, it's going to decrease your mitochondrial function.
Mm-hmm.
It's always related. So,
Yeah. Well, with blood sugar, if your blood sugar is too high, that increases inflammation. And what's so sad about that is most people don't know they have blood sugar problems,
yeah.
because doctors, they don't even diagnose you as having a blood sugar problem until you already have a one that can be treated with medications. And so if doctors would let people know sooner when they're starting to trend towards blood sugar problems, when they're having other metabolic issues, then they could reverse it before damage occurs because it hurts our eyes. Not only is it hurting our mitochondria, but it can hurt our eyes and vision and circulation and things like that. And so that's going on a tangent, but that creates inflammation and damages the mitochondria as well, which leads to fatigue and things like that. So we can see a lot of times we can feel when mitochondria is damaged. We're tired, um, a lot less energy, need more naps, have more inflammation and pain, things like that. And so it's weird to say, 'cause I know I've had clients come to me and say, I need help with my mitochondria. My mitochondria is damaged. And I'm like, how do you know that? You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. And so I don't think there's really a way to know it, but if you have those signs and symptoms, and I could be wrong. If you have those signs and symptoms, you've had chronic inflammation, chronic stress, tests, functional medicine tests show high oxidative stress, then chances are that you do have damaged mitochondria. And the things that we're going to talk about today, even if you don't have damaged mitochondria, if you have those symptoms, you have inflammation and things like that, these are going to be wonderful for those too. So it's not like in conventional medicine, a pill for an ill. Oh, you have this, you need to take that. You had this, you need to take that one over there. It's these herbs and the food and the lifestyle affects your whole body, which is what we are all about. As a vitalist, that's the type of herbalist that we call ourselves. We focus on bringing the whole body back into balance, nourishing the entire body, and using foods and herbs and lifestyle changes to bring the body back into balance, not to just fix that one little thing. You cut yourself, you put a band-aid on, that band-aid's not healing that cut. We have to, make sure you have the vitamins and minerals and things to nourish the body so that everything heals that cut.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because the reason bialism is so effective, it's very effective because, I think the medical system has taught us that, okay, you have high blood pressure, so you'll take a diuretic or whatever, and you'll be fine. But it really doesn't, true health doesn't really work that way. You have to look at all the factors. You have to look at your sleep. You have to look at your food, your stress, your exercise. You have to make changes in all these areas, and then it works synergistically, like I talk about, and that's how you get healthy. You can't just sit on the couch and pop a pill and be okay. It just doesn't work that way. I know, hell, sometimes even I wish it worked that way, but you have to put the work in. If you really want to be healthy, you have to work at it.
Yeah. Now, what does someone do when they can't get off the couch? Because
Yeah.
like talking about mitochondria and fatigue, I mean, I do have some they can't, or if they do today, they can tomorrow. And so I think it's so important for those people to really find ways to nourish the whole body, and listen today to what we're talking about to help with the mitochondria.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you're, sedentary and you have a handicap, something like that, it's even more important to clean up your diet, start nourishing the body. You remember, I know Schultz talked about if you're ill, you need more nutrition than somebody who's not ill.
Yes.
He would like flood people's bodies with, herbal drinks and teas and fruits and vegetables because the body has to have that
Yeah.
to heal the inflammation, to heal the organs, whatever's going on. So you have to start packing all these great things into, and I'm glad you brought that up. I never really thought about that, like somebody that is, that's disabled.
Yeah. Well, even, I mean, I have a lot of clients that actually they're bedridden, just
Yeah.
from the fatigue and the chronic illness or autoimmune disease. those kind of things. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, finding ways to help them. Now, there are markers we can see in blood work, but especially in functional blood work, that show when there's oxidative stress, which shows mitochondrial aging is damage going on to your body, damaging your DNA, and things like that. And so we want to make sure that we're handling the oxidative stress, that we're learning to reverse that as well. And there are different things that we can do as far as foods go. And one of the fascinating studies that you showed talked about quercetin. So, do you want to talk about quercetin? And before you begin, I want to say, don't run out and buy a bottle of quercetin. We're not talking about taking supplements necessarily. And medical disclaimer, as always, this is an education-based podcast. We are not your individual one-on-one coaches. We do not treat, we do not diagnose, we do not prescribe. We're educating you on this information. Don't go out and buy it. Do your own due diligence, do some research, and find out if these are right for you. But anyway, so one of the studies you sent me was all about quercetin and repairing mitochondria. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'll start out by saying the school we went to, they didn't really like us to use isolated supplements,
Right.
but he did say it's in certain cases, maybe sometimes you might need it. But they have found their studies, and I just saw this week about quercetin, and they're doing studies and they're showing that actually can protect our mitochondria when we're under metabolic stress. So that
Mhm.
can mean your blood sugar is out of whack, right? So that's
Right,
one thing.
right.
And it also helps to reduce oxidative damage. These are things that most people don't think about, but we're getting oxidative damage every day just from living and breathing. So
Yeah, we're
we have
getting
to rely on
EMFs off
food.
the electronic devices right here.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
So the only thing that helps protect us from these things is our diet and nutrients.
Right.
And they're showing that the same nutrient can help support complex recovery.
Hmm.
It talks about improves the NADH ratio, stimulates mitochondrial biogenesis, which is really important. That's how I got into this because I thought, well, they're showing that as we get older, the mitochondria loses its ability to regenerate,
Hmm.
but this nutrient is showing that it can help the body start to regenerate mitochondria again.
Hmm.
But if you came to me and said, I've read about quercetin, should I take it? I would say let's start with some herbs and foods that actually contain it. Like onions is a big player in this. They contain a lot of it. Onions.
Yes, and it's the peel. And so if you make a broth with the onion peels, which is what I tell my clients to do. Anytime you're chopping onion, celery, or carrots, when you chop off the ends, or you take off those peels, throw them into a gallon bag, throw it in your freezer. When that bag gets full, dump it into a Dutch oven, cover with water, add whatever spices or herbs you want to. I do have some herbs I like to add to mine, maybe a piece of kelp or kombu, and simmer it for 45 minutes, strain, and you have a delicious broth that's high in quercetin.
Yeah, Schultz was really big in the broths because you get so many nutrients and it's easy for your body to assimilate because you don't have to digest it.
Yes. Yes. And you're reusing those scraps. And so you're saving some money as
Oh
well
yeah.
as having a delicious broth. But yeah, Schultz always talked about like that's a potassium rich broth there. And so it's potassium and minerals as well as quercetin, which is why we don't say go out and take quercetin. Use your foods. Now, when someone's really sick, we do want them to use something like telling them to take quercetin because they needed therapeutic levels. Maybe it's really hard. Like if I told you go and eat some onions, could you eat that many onions to get enough quercetin? No, but if you eat foods that are cooked in that broth, drink some of that broth during the day, and you're like, drink some of that broth. Yeah, add some salt and drink it like you would a tea or something. It's delicious, warming,
Yeah.
especially right now. I mean, here we are. It's really cold and rainy. Today is like 40 and rain is horrible outside to me. But drinking nettle tea, eating apples, having berries, drinking green tea, all of those things also contain quercetin. And one other thing when you eat like apples or the onions, remember I said it was in the peel of the onions. Well, remember that is in the layers of the onions too. And so you're not just throwing it away when you remove the peel, but the same with apples. So don't peel your apples, buy organic, grow your own, know where your apples come from, but eat that because the quercetin is in there in between that skin and the flesh of the apple. And so I don't want you to throw that out. But if you eat those foods, if you can tolerate them, that's another key, then that's a really great way to increase your quercetin. And that's something you could do every day. Having a broth, having onions in your food, having an apple, drinking nettle tea, having some berries, maybe starting your day with green tea or a green tea extract can be a really great way to boost some quercetin.
Yes, those are all very good ideas. And now we can go into, we found some research on adaptogens, which we're talking about that this morning because
Yes.
I've been going through a lot of stress lately. And Jennifer's like, do you take any adaptogens? I'm like, it's funny, I'm an herbalist and I teach people,
Yeah,
but I
we
go to these
don't
kicks where I'm
do
not
it.
taking anything and I don't know why.
Right.
It's, so. But some of these adaptogens can help support our mitochondrial energy. And the first one on the list, I think all of us have heard of, is ginseng. Ginseng, I've heard about it for years. It's like, it's really versatile herb.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I love ginseng. Yeah, and it's wonderful for supporting the mitochondria as well. And so it's energy boosting. It's an adaptogen. So what does adaptogen mean? It helps you to adapt. It helps your body to adapt. So when we're under a lot of stress, think back. Okay, so here's a story. So we have a mouse in the house. And so you're sound asleep, and all of a sudden you hear a mouse. What do? You jump up. So I wear a mask when I sleep because I need it completely dark. And I actually don't wear a mask. I wear a fleece, the fleece bands that you people wear around their head when they go outside in the cold, and it's just flat and soft. Anyway, I put that over my eyes because there's no pressure, there's no plastic elastic or anything. Anyway, tangent. But I had that on and I heard a mouse and I'm home alone and I'm asleep and I fly up out of the bed and I'm trying to find the light switch without even taking the the thing off my eyes, right? And so, that's an alarm state. That's sending my body signals, hey, I'm in danger, I'm in danger. When we are under stress all day, so like I woke up from that and then I have a full day, and this isn't how my day went, but then I have a full day and I'm like, oh, I slept through my alarm. Oh, I have to get this done. Look at my to-do list. Oh my gosh. Oh, I have meetings back to back today. Oh, I need to get dressed. I need to hurry. I'm going to skip breakfast. Oh, I didn't get enough sleep. I better grab a cup of coffee. I get in the car and I'm stuck in traffic and you can see, you can hear it in my voice. Oh, stress, 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 stress. And so I'm not in danger, but I'm telling my body I'm in danger. Now, can I keep continuing in that stress and take ginseng and that's going to help my body handle things? No. I have to learn how to manage my day and, set bigger boundaries and remind myself, hey, this isn't an emergency. I am okay. Pause and do some other things that we'll tell you about today. Now, ginseng is going to help me to repair the damage I've occurred from the days where I have been doing that. It's not going to help me today if I don't stop those other things. And so I didn't mean to go on a tangent there, but I think it's really important for people to know, like in pharmaceutical meds, if I'm really stressed and they give me a pharmaceutical to lower my stress, then I'm going to be numbed out. And so maybe I'm not going to be stressed. Does that fix any problems? No. Am I telling you not to take your meds? No. But in the herbal world, there are some herbs that can numb you out. But if we're taking something like ginseng, it's not going to change how I live right now. It's just going to help repair some things, maybe give me a little bit more energy. But I do need to quote unquote do the things to help my body as well. Did that make any sense?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So what we were talking about earlier is we got to look at a lot of facets. We can't just rely. I can't say, I really like Big Macs, but I know they're probably not good for my heart, but I'm going to take Hawthorne Berry, and that should protect me from the Big Macs. And I mean, there's people that believe that,
Yes.
but it doesn't work that way.
Right. Right. Yeah,
So
so
I'm
get
glad you brought that up. But we've been
yeah,
trained like that by the medical world, you know?
right.
I
We
had a
think that
guy come
it's
to me.
work.
He come to me, he goes, my doctor said, as long as I take statin drugs, I'll never have a heart attack. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and I don't have to change what I'm eating. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
we have a friend who's in the hospital, just had part of his intestines removed. And do the doctors tell you you need to change what you're eating? No. I mean, really? Yeah, do you need your intestines for anything? It's just a tube,
Nah, they're
right?
just there. I don't know.
Yeah, your food's not going to affect that at all. Right?
Uh,
And I'm joking and I'm not joking. I mean, that's serious stuff, but unfortunately, it's something that's real. Anyway, back on track. So, ginseng can really help with energy. It can help to support mitochondria as well, help the mitochondria to be more efficient. And there's different forms of ginseng. I tend to go with more of an eleuthero, which is also called Siberian ginseng. It's a wonderful adaptogen. It's not really stimulating. It's one of my favorites, but there are several different forms. And so do your due diligence, see which one's right for you and your energy. The next one is rhodiola, and that's another one where a little bit of rhodiola can make you can be too much for you. And so like it's weird. A little bit can make give you a lot of energy and a lot of it can relax you. And so it's, depending on who you are. And so for me, I didn't like it because I couldn't find the sweet spot for me. But it's another rhodiola that some people love, and it can help to maintain mitochondrial integrity under stress. And so does that mean you don't have to make any changes? No, but it can help you while you're going through something. Do you have experience with rhodiola?
I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I'm really intrigued by the herb because, and I know I probably talked about it before in the podcast,
Hmm.
but there was a Russian weightlifting team that used it, and actually they were studying this herb, and it really increased their athletes able to they recovered better. And
Hmm.
we're talking about like Olympic lifting, so they're like doing a lot of heavy work,
Yeah,
and it showed that helped them keep their cortisol lower, muscle recovery. So my point is, it's a very powerful, effective herb if you can handle it.
right, right. And so that recovery is probably helping with the mitochondria, right? Then,
Yeah.
yeah, and so the next one's ashwagandha. And so ashwagandha, very calming. It's another one that's not necessarily right for everyone. It is a nightshade, and there is a small percentage of people who can't tolerate nightshades, and so those people can't. It also lowers cortisol. So if your cortisol is flatlined, do you need to lower your cortisol? No. You need to find ways to help bring your cortisol back into balance. And so that's another one. I mean, I hate that I'm giving you, it could be this, could be that, but like I said, there's no pill for an ill. We have to really look at you as an individual and see which herbs are right for you. There are lots of other adaptogens, whether or not they help with mitochondria, they probably all do. One that's not on our list is Schisandra berry. I've had a lot of successful clients with Schisandra berry. It sounds like it would be good being called berry, but it's a five taste herb. It's kind of bitter. My husband hates it when I put it in our smoothies. And so maybe using it as an extract or something would be better, or instead of a powder. I like the powders. But it is another one that is really great for repair and for resilience. And so I do like Schisandra berry as well. And so these herbs also are really high in polyphenols, those bright colors, which help with so many different things. So mitochondria health, but also gut health integrity and things like that as well. So all of these, including Schisandra berry. And then the next, did you have anything you want to say about Schisandra before I move to
No,
the
it's
next
I've
one?
never used this. I've never used it before, so
Yeah, so it's a pink red color, and so I like to have the reds. Our next herb is orange, turmeric. A lot of people say, well, I take curcumin. Well, curcumin is an extract, and remember, we learned it's much better to use the food. You could do a turmeric juice. It's very anti-inflammatory. It's a very powerful antioxidant, but also helps to stabilize mitochondria, which is why so many people probably do see success with taking curcumin, helping with pain and inflammation.
Yeah, I've had some success with turmeric. I make a tincture.
Hmm.
I use turmeric and a few other herbs, but I've had clients that really helped them with pain. It's a powerful. I always mix it with black pepper because they say that it increases absorption.
Yeah.
So I really do believe in turmeric. I've seen it help people that were in pretty intense pain. So it's a good anti-inflammatory, which we always want to get our inflammation down.
Yes. Well,
So,
especially to help with oxidative stress.
mhm.
Yes. And the next one is green tea. And so I had stayed away from green tea for a while because of caffeine and things like that. But there are just so many studies about EGCG. And when you're looking at gut health, for those of you who know my history, I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease back in 2007. I had a relapse after a car crash in 2013. And then I unfortunately was conned by the medical system, which is all part of my story, which you can read or listen to my story. One of the podcasts, two of the podcasts actually, episodes. Anyway, most recently, I've been dealing with some things. I had a weird, like, parasite. It wasn't a parasite. I can't think of what it was. Anyway, working on gut health. Um, my practitioner told me I really needed to take green tea extract. And so I actually drink a cup of green tea in the morning. And for those of you who are familiar with muscle testing, I do muscle testing too to see if I should take the extract or not, because as we said, we prefer to stick with foods as much as possible. And so sometimes I do take the green tea extract as well. So where what's my point there? It also supports mitochondrial health, the membranes of the mitochondria, and it's helpful for detox pathways. It's helpful for our intestinal lining and so many other things. You can get decaffeinated green tea if you buy green tea or any teas that are in a bag. You want to buy those that have the bags kind of tied closed. You want to make sure the bag's not bleached. You don't want it to have a staple. You don't want to have glue, definitely. And so I do look for companies that do not use the glue. The glue is plastics. You want to make sure the bag isn't made out of plastic or bleach, because then that's going to get in your teas and then that's going to damage your mitochondria. And so I did find one. I hate to use brands, but I know people are going to want to know. There's an organic Japanese green tea, and the brand is Choice. And so I am giving you a name, even though I said I wasn't going to, but it does is tied. It's not stapled. It's not heat sealed. Because even when I buy some that are organic, they still are heat sealed. There I do buy traditional medicinals a lot, and then I like to buy most of my herbs from Mountain Rose Herbs or Holistic Botanicals. Those are safe and reliable. And you may have other sources too, Dan. But if you're sensitive to green tea, you can buy decaf, and you can put hot water over the tea, leave it for 1 minute, throw it out, and then pour hot water over the tea again. Then you will get your ECG, still get your EGCG, but it also helps to remove some more of the caffeine.
Interesting. I can't really do a lot of caffeine either.
Hmm.
I get jittery, so
Yes, yeah. And so, yeah, and so that happens to a lot of people, right? And so maybe taking an extract would be better for you.
yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
And it'll be more concentrated too. So
Yes, definitely.
then we get into the movement, which I love to talk about, exercise, you know.
That's yours. Yep.
They're showing that a mix of, well, I recommend a mix of strength training and cardio work. It triggers mitochondrial biogenesis again, which is recreation of our mitochondria. So strength training is particularly effective for older adults. I highly recommend strength training for older people, but I recommend a certain way to do it. I don't recommend a lot of high rep sets to my older clients. I do lower sets with lower reps. This works a lot better. They get stronger, they get less inflammation, they get less cortisol spikes. You don't want to kill them. And that's the
No.
good news. I have one now. We work out 2 hours a week, and she's 57, and she has gotten phenomenal results. Just 2 hours a week of weight training.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
I mean,
awesome.
we talk about if you work out too much, you can actually raise your cortisol, which raises inflammation. And look, exercise is really, really important, but the dose is specific. You have to make sure you're not overdoing it.
Yeah, and if you're too sore the next day or can't do anything for the next 2 days, then you're going to get discouraged and not go back to it. So you definitely don't want to overdo it. That's happened to some of my clients. They go and they go all out and then they're down for a couple of days. And so go
Yeah.
low and slow, doing something. Something's better than nothing. But don't be afraid of using those low weights. Slowly work your way up so that you can recover and still function the next day. Do you have any advice for those clients who are bedridden, or can only do, 5, 10 minutes a day? What can they do to, in, what can they do, A, and B, how could they increase what they're doing?
So you're talking about people with like autoimmune flares, fibromyalgia, things like that,
Yeah,
are kind of bedridden.
right.
I would start with you can get if you're in the bed, you can't really get up. I would say you can get a hand gripper because look, these little things you exercise your hands with,
Mm-hmm,
they're showing just that alone can help lower your blood pressure. I saw a study,
mm-hmm,
and if you're in the bed a lot, it could raise your blood pressure because your blood gets thick and all these things. There's a study out there. They had people work with hand grippers 2 minutes, 3 times a week. It lowered their blood pressure up to 10 points, just that alone.
wow.
And you could do leg lifts in the bed. You could do some leg lifts to work on your hip muscles. Anything, and you could sit on the edge of the bed and kind of do some calf raises. Just pump your calves
Mm-hmm,
just by the bed. That increases the circulation. It
mm-hmm,
helps prevent blood clots. It lowers your blood sugar. All these little simple, easy exercises. Because I tell people, true health is about good oxygen utilization and good circulation. You have to have those two factors to be healthy, and just little bitty movements, even in the bed, can increase those things. So you don't have to be discouraged. Just anything you can do, even in bed, is going to help you.
yeah, awesome. Yeah, you don't have to worry about getting up and going to the gym and
Mm.
hitting the weights and all of that. Start
No, if you're
start where you
sick, you don't
are.
need to be going to the gym and working out hard. You need to start slow.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
aerobics, aerobics like I'm not saying they can do aerobics, but there are these little bitty it's like this little bitty it's these little pedals. They put them on the floor, you put them beside your bed. You
mhm,
can like, do your pedals maybe for a few minutes.
mhm,
And aerobic exercise has been shown to increase mitochondrial density. So you can start to build up your mitochondria, build up your energy. Exercise like that will help you actually build your energy up
mhm.
instead of deplete you.
That's amazing. And I've seen people who are training the swimmers, and they would even use their arms
Yeah.
with
Oh
those.
yeah.
Yeah, so you could do your feet, you could do your arms. Yeah, and just trying to slowly increase too.
Yeah, it reminds me there's this system out there. It's like maybe 4 or 5 exercises. It's like, raising your arms over your head, doing some body weight squats. It's been shown to increase your nitric oxide in the blood.
Oh, that's
So it can
awesome.
help you lower your blood pressure, increase your oxygen. And it's
Hmm.
simple things. I can't think of I think it's called nitric oxide dump exercises. I believe that's what it's called. And they're
Oh,
simple, and I think anybody can do them. They're
mhm.
really easy. It just shows you that you don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to do anything really hard to get healthy, you
Right,
know?
right.
And they talk about, you hear about interval training, and I do think that interval training is good if you use the right dose, maybe once or twice a week,
Hmm.
and you don't kill yourself with it. It shows it actually upgrades your energy system, like I was talking about.
Hmm.
And, when we're talking about that, an 8-minute workout would be enough. So say you get on a bicycle. You'll warm up, you'll pedal for a minute or two, and then you do a burst for maybe 15 to 30 seconds. And then you
Hmm.
recover for a minute, do another burst. And, just 8 minutes of this will be enough. So you can do that once or twice a week if you're able to.
Yeah, that sounds great. And then one of my favorites, excuse me, rest and repair.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yes, we heal when we rest. we digest when we rest. And so many of us are so go, 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 go. And then we have trouble sleeping. We wake up in the middle of the night and things like that. And so finding ways to enhance your sleep. Our mitochondria repair most effectively during deep sleep. And so, like, I know I wear an Aura ring. Some people use other watches, devices to see how they're sleeping. And so, looking, are you getting that deep sleep? And if not, doing some sleep hygiene. I think we did do a podcast on sleep. Um, just going through different things to enhance your sleep is so important because that's when your brain clears everything up. That's when damaged mitochondria are removed, and we don't want those to build up. We need them to be removed and help because that's the only way we're going to repair mitochondria and enhance our energy as well. And then focusing on resting throughout the day. And so not just at bedtime, but pausing before meals, making sure that we are not eating in front of devices, that we're not multitasking while we're eating, but letting our body know, hey, I'm safe and I'm ready to absorb these foods. And working on stress management. We are in such an overstimulated world right now. We have TV channels that have multiple things on at the same time. Like I remember we don't have regular TV anymore, but the news would have things at the top, some maybe talking in the middle. It'd have one or two or maybe even three different things on the bottom that all gave you information. And that's how children are learning today too. They have multiple things going on their phone at the same time. And that's just so much overstimulation. And so getting back to it's okay to be bored. It's okay to be still. It's okay to be quiet. Learning to slow down and pause and reflect is just so very important.
It really is, and I feel like a lot of people aren't doing that, including I have days where I don't, even though I know that I should.
Right.
I mean, the world is so fast these days,
Yeah.
and we're killing ourselves with all this stress.
Literally. Yes. Yes. And so slowing down, getting rest, and letting your body know it's safe, setting your priorities. What is the most important thing today? Is something serious really going to happen if you don't get that done? Or is it okay for you to take a little pause? That kind of thing. What are your priorities today?
The simple life really is the best. I know that a
Yeah.
lot of people, they balk at that, but it really is important to try to simplify your life. You'll be happier. You will
Yes.
be. Most people, they don't believe that, but take some of the things out of your life that are just running you crazy and keeping you up at night.
Yes.
You don't think you're going to feel better if you actually sleep peacefully? You will.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about, just real briefly, things that can increase oxidative stress.
Well, the first thing is all of these fake foods. I mean, they're everywhere. I think especially the younger people, they're just
Yes.
living on processed food now.
Yes. Yes. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. There are four teens. Unfortunately, I can't think of their names. Oh, I wish I could remember their name. They have a podcast and they were talking about this yesterday, how they've been showing their friends. Like one of them couldn't understand why he couldn't eat hot Cheetos. And his mom was like, you have to look at it. It has this yellow dye in it and that increases cancer. Do you want to eat foods that increase cancer? And he was like, no. So he's been teaching his other friends about that. And I even saw on the news yesterday that several of our top companies are being sued now for marketing foods as foods that are actually harmful chemicals, knowing they were harmful chemicals. And not only that, marketing them to children. So when we think of cereals with food coloring in them that have been linked to illnesses. And so it's going to be fascinating as that starts expanding more in the news as we hear more about that. But we have so many quote unquote frankenfoods and foods that have been altered by the companies to help increase cravings for those foods. Like if you go back to even 30, 40 years ago, you can't just eat one. Remember that was a potato chip commercial. Literally, they came up with the key to so that you can't just eat one. And they've increased that to more and more and more foods. And then they've added chemicals And they don't have to tell you what's in a food because there's different ways they can hide what's in the ingredients using terms like natural flavors, and proprietary blend. You don't know what's in there. And now we have this rise in not only chronic illnesses, but also in food allergies and things like that. And so we really need to get back to food, not these ultra processed foods.
Then the next thing is pesticides. And of course, pesticides are definitely linked to processed foods, but unfortunately, they're also linked to healthy food like vegetables and fruit.
Yeah.
I saw a thing yesterday about McDonald's French fries, and they only use something called Burbank potatoes
Hmm.
because these potatoes are longer.
Hmm.
But there's a pest that love these potatoes. So the people who grow the potatoes for McDonald's, they spray this pesticide on there,
Yeah.
and this pesticide is so toxic that when the farmers spray it, they won't go back into the fields for at least 5 days.
Holy
And then
cow.
when they harvest the potatoes, they have to put them in the barn for like, I think it's a month to off gas all these pesticides, and then they send it to McDonald's and they cook it, and people are eating it. And that's just
Yeah.
one
Wow.
thing
And
that
if you think
has,
about that, if you stack a bunch of potatoes straight from the earth into a barn, then that has to grow molds too. So it's
yep,
molds and pesticides. Yeah, that's horrible. And then I know not just McDonald's potatoes, but I know most potatoes are sprayed. If you've ever cut into a potato and you have like a brown spot in the middle, the center has like a hardened brown area. There's a
yeah.
chemical they can spray on the potatoes so that they doesn't get that. And so if you're not buying organic potatoes, then 99% chance, unless you know where it was grown and who grew it, that it has been sprayed with that as well. And so potatoes are really, really high in chemicals as well as many of our other foods. And so paying attention to what's in your ingredients, buying organic or buying from someone you know, getting to know your farmer. I live on a farm. Get to know your farmer. Use CSAs, go to farmers markets and ask them how they grow their foods. The next on our list is air pollutants. So a lot of times we're in homes with air conditioning. There's chemicals in the air conditioners. We're circulating, VOCs and things like that in the home. And so if we can open the windows, of course, there's air pollution outside as well. And so we do have to be aware of that. Using air filters and things like that can be really helpful.
And plastic. And this is another big topic, and
Yeah,
it's pretty horrific. They're basically saying that we're all ingesting plastic every day, and they're already linking it to inflammation, heart disease, all these things. So
yeah,
we have to make the way to avoid this as much as we can is I don't recommend eating out of plastic, especially takeout. When you put hot food into a plastic container, it leaches these microplastics and chemicals into your food. Now, I
yeah,
know it's hard to stay away from things like that, but there are certain companies like, and I'm not, Chipotle, places like that, they're using like cardboard or something now, but most of your Chinese takeout because I like Chinese food that have plastic, and I wouldn't drink out of plastic bottles,
right. And at
things like
coffee
that.
shops and things like that, there's plastic lining inside the cups and then a plastic lid. And so that steam runs up the side, hits that plastic, and then you have more plastic too. And so taking your own containers is very important. So what's next?
Heavy metals, and it's not the music, even though I used to like heavy metal, but we're talking about nickel, we're talking about lead, aluminum, all these things, and they're finding these things in bodies, and they're linking aluminum to some of your dementia cases because some people with dementia and Alzheimer's have more aluminum in their brain. But how do we avoid these things? It's kind of difficult with heavy metals. I know that I stay away from a lot of protein powders because most of your protein powders test for heavy metals, and even the clean organic ones. And grape juice, grape juice is really bad with heavy metals. So There are
Right.
certain foods we have to, I don't even touch anymore. I don't touch grape juice. I don't do protein powders just because of that. And I don't know. You can do detoxes, and we have a detox from the school with the bugle weeds, all those things. But
Yes.
I mean, look, and I used to feel like I would make my clients feel hopeless when I start talking to them about these pollutants. Look, we can't avoid all these things, but what we can do is do our best to do maybe every quarter, do some kind of a detox. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You run your liver cleanses some, and
Yes.
that's something that's good to do. I always recommend though, and we talk about this all the time, make sure you're going to the bathroom at least 1 to 3 times a day. And I'm talking about number two.
Yes. You have to poop. Got to get it out.
Yeah, that's our biggest way to keep our bodies clean. And then every 3 or 4 months, you can pick maybe your liver, you can pick your kidneys and do a herbal detox there. And I mean, it really is helpful.
Yes. If you're not going to the bathroom, then things are recirculating back into the bloodstream, back in the liver, adding more stress to your liver. And and when it goes through the liver, it's different enzymes act upon it, different chemicals are added. And so when it's coated and protected and going through the intestine, but then enzymes break down that protection. And so now we have something that's more active, more damaging. And so you want to make sure if you're constipated, you've got to get that resolved. And so that's a topic for another day, but and maybe we should talk about that because that is so I can't even believe how common constipation is, and so maybe we should talk about that. But we are running out of time, so let's put it all together for today. So if you imagine your mitochondria as a living ecosystem inside your cells, it's kind of like the little battery inside your cells. We need to talk about how we can protect those little batteries so that you have the energy, you are repairing your body, you are quote unquote reversing aging, right? And protecting the whole system. So let's just recap real quick what we can do to protect our and repair our mitochondria.
Well, we could look at our food. Obviously, we want to eat more fruits and vegetables like we always recommend. We want
Yeah.
to make sure we're getting our sleep. We didn't talk about hydration, but we want to make sure we're drinking plenty of water. I prefer distilled.
Yeah, me too.
We we want to find exercise that makes us stronger and more energetic. So
Hmm.
we're not overworking, but we're working hard enough to get the results. And we got to look at our stress, and we have to try to minimize our exposure to toxins. And you can minimize. I mean, you can't completely run, but you can minimize those things.
Yes. Yeah. And focusing on those brightly colored foods. Looking into the adaptogens that are right for you. Like Dan said, we're terrible about using them ourselves. And so finding some that fit you and use those. They not only are they an herb for stress, but they also provide nutrients as well, which is why we also don't like to go through supplements. We like to use foods as much as possible because they provide more than just a chemical. Um, and we have to remember that we need consistency. Don't try to be extreme. Oh, I've got to do this, this, and this, and this to repair my mitochondria. No, we want to make it a lifestyle. We want to, slowly change different things, slowly increase your exercise, slowly add in more colors. Just pick one thing at a time and build on that consistency, slowly adding things. Small habits over time create lasting change. And so I want to thank you for joining us today. If you liked this topic, let us know. If you have something to add, let us know. If you don't agree with something, we also want to let you know. Subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends and someone else you know who would enjoy to hear about this. If you'd like to find out more about Dan, go to danthenaturalman.com. And to find out more about me, I am at Holistic Jen. That's with the WH, Holistic Jen .com. Anyway, keep exploring, keep learning about your body and learning how to balance your body. And thank you for joining us today. And we will be back with you next week.